guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a what's for dinner for you with 3 great recipes. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, and share if you don't mind, and let's get into it. So our first recipe is chicken burrito bowls, which is one of our favorites. I can type up some of the recipe for you down below, but it's pretty simple. I start off with 1 cup of wild rice. You can use white rice or brown rice or whatever you want really. I've used half rice, half quinoa in these before. My rice calls for 1 3/4 cups to 1 cup of rice. I do 2 because I like my rice a little bit more tender, which it does give you directions for that as well on the back. Here I've got a really sad looking red pepper that needed to be used up. It still tasted fine. It was just a little wrinkly on the outside. And then I'm going to chop up a yellow onion as well. I am going to cook up the yellow onion just because Ryan and I both don't like raw onion in most of our food, or even really red onion raw. Here you'll see I'm just cutting up the red peppers into square pieces, and then I'm going to put them in a bowl off to the side till we're ready. Also got some cherry tomatoes here I'm going to cut up just in half for most of them. Some of the bigger ones I'll cut in quarters. Then we're going to make some guacamole. I've got 2 avocados here that are very, very ripe. In fact, some of it was a little, I just squeezed the whole avocado out. I leave the pit in because it helps the avocado from going brown before you get to eat it all. Then I'm using some real lime juice because my limes were used up in other stuff last week and I forgot to order more. So just a couple splashes of that. Some cilantro paste. I always have this stuff on hand. If my cilantro that's in my windowsill isn't ready, then I can just use this. And then I always add hot sauce to my guacamole because I like everything a little bit spicy. I'm going to add some seasonings here as well. I think I add salt, maybe pepper, and some chipotle powder. So no chipotle powder this time, I don't think. I'm just going to smash up the avocados and mix everything together really well. I do always usually give it a taste with a chip or even just on its own, just to make sure that that seasoning is good. So next I've got 2 chicken breasts in a bag here that I've had marinating all day with some Old El Paso chicken taco seasoning and a bit of olive oil. I'm going to grill those up. Then we're going to make our burrito sauce, which I have the recipe that is based on linked below. I've got a couple tablespoons each of sour cream and mayonnaise. Then we're going to add some chipotle pepper powder and a little splash of water. I do end up adding more chipotle pepper, some hot sauce here as well, and a little bit of lime juice in the end. Next, I'm going to grab our chicken off the grill and cut it up into little bite-sized pieces. Then we're going to start assembling our bowls. We're going to start off with that wild rice that kind of turns purple when it cooks up. I also warmed up some pinto beans and canned corn with some Cajun or Creole seasoning. We're going to toss in those onions that we cooked, as well as the chicken, tomatoes, and peppers. I also toss in some mozzarella cheese because that's what I had that day, the guacamole, the burrito sauce, and some store-bought salsa. These were so good. We love this meal and it's so easy. Next, we've got chip crusted chicken strips. This is another favorite of ours. In the first bowl here, I've got a couple tablespoons of mayonnaise, which just keep the chicken so moist, as well as 2 eggs and some pepper. And then in the other bowl, I've got tandoori barbecue chips, along with some panko breadcrumbs that I just crushed up in my blender. Then I'm going to coat each chicken strip in, and then I've got this tray over here to put them on. You'll see me working with the forks, trying to be all clean and nice with it, and then realizing that it's going to take way too long to do it that way, and I start going in with my fingers and just getting dirty and doing it. They're the best tools you've got in the kitchen. You might as well use them. It's going to save you a lot of time and hassle anyways. Just going to keep going with these chicken strips until they're all completed and get them on my sheet pan, which does have a non-stick sheet on it. You might want to spray them with some cooking spray as well. It's up to you. My sheet that I'm using is a copper one and it works really well. Nothing usually ever sticks to it, so I didn't bother this night. And here they are on the baking sheet, ready to go in the oven at 375 for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then I take them out, flip them all over, and put them back in for about another 10 minutes or until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit to make sure that they are fully cooked. Next, I'm just going to make a really quick and easy Caesar salad. I'm cutting up some washed romaine here, adding some croutons and that Caesar salad dressing. Keeping it really simple for tonight. We've got some great value tater tots that I'm going to toss into the air fryer. And then it's time to plate up. So I've got those chicken strips there, some tater tots. I love the great value tater tots and that Caesar salad we made. Such a good dinner and super easy. Next, I'm going to be making a roast dinner and Yorkshire pudding. Sorry, this footage is kind of out of focus, but I just wanted to show you. I just have a really small top sirloin roast here. I'm going to be putting some of the Montreal steak seasoning on it, as well as some garlic powder. And then we are going to sear it in a hot pan that I have heating up behind me. I'm going to really make sure that that seasoning is pressed into the meat so that it sticks to it. And then here's that really hot pan that's also really out of focus. I'm sorry, I promise it doesn't last long like that. And then we're going to throw it into our crock pot. I cut up some onions and carrots as well as some celery. And then I'm just tossing some garlic up, popping that lid on. And then we're going to set it on high because this was so much later in the day. Then this is me checking it about 2 or 3 hours later. I realize there's not enough liquid in it, so I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of beef broth, just so that I can really get that gravy for later, as well as I take the drippings from there and add them to our Yorkshire pudding. Next, we're going to roast up some red potatoes, chop them up really small. I know most people would probably do mashed potatoes with a roast dinner, but honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of mashed potatoes. I do prefer a roasted potato if I'm going to have potatoes. Next, I'm going to put these on a cookie sheet with the carrots that I had in the slow cooker, as well as some other cut up. And then I have some pats of butter on top. I'm also adding a little bit of olive oil. And then I have some vegetable seasoning, garlic powder, and some salt that I add on. And then these are going to go into the oven for about 40 minutes at 400 degrees. Oh, sorry, I'm also adding Mrs. Dash. That's what I added instead of garlic powder, because that one has a lot of garlic in it, as well as the vegetable seasoning I used had garlic in it as well. Next, we're going to get ready to take our roast out of the slow cooker. It's been cooking for about 6 hours now. You'll see that those carrots are gone because they're in the oven roasting, and it is super tender that it doesn't even want to come out. We're going to put it on a plate. I actually let this rest for a few minutes and then started to cut it up. As you can see, it's kind of falling apart as I cut it. It is super tender, super juicy, and so delicious. That added time that you take to do the crust on it, so worth it. After that, we're going to start making our Yorkshire pudding. We start with 3 eggs. And if you guys wanted a video more detailed on how to make Yorkshire puddings, just let me know. I know a lot of people are intimidated by them, or they've never really made them. They can be kind of finicky. I'm not saying that this is a perfect recipe or that it's completely traditional, but it's our favorite. It's what I grew up with. Here I'm adding a cup of flour and realizing that the measuring cup that I decided to mix this in is way too small. So I was thinking, well, let's try and mix it. Maybe if I get some of that flour down into the eggs, it'll be easier. And here I'm mixing it and realizing that's not going to work either. And flour's flying everywhere. And I'm making a big old mess. So I'm like, well, let's add our cup of milk. Maybe that'll make the flour go down. Now, I don't, traditionally you would use a full cup of milk. I use about a cup, or sorry, about 3/4 of a cup. And here oh no, this is not going to work. I can't mix this in this measuring cup. So I've switched to a bowl. And then I'm going to add my other 1/4 cup of the stock from the slow cooker. So much easier to mix this now. You'll see it's really lumpy and really gross looking, but I just kind of whisk it up with my fork. Make sure I'm getting everything by the sides. And after you mix it for a few minutes, making sure that I get those lumps of flour off of my fork as well. You just keep mixing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to kind of sit off to the side for a few minutes while we do the rest of the steps. And you can see it's slowly getting smoother. There's still some lumps in it, which is perfectly okay. So next I've got this really gross old looking muffin tin. I only ever use this tin for Yorkshire puddings, and I'm adding about a tablespoon of oil into the bottom of each one, and then we're going to take that batter after the oil's heated up in the oven for about 20 minutes at 400 and pour that batter in. You can see that oil bubbling up over the sides of the batter. This is the most important part, and look at how delicious those look when they come out of the oven. They are perfect. They are airy. Careful when you do this, they're really hot. Some of them you see have that little hole in the top. That is perfect while you're green. There's the plate of them. They're beautiful. Next, we're going to plate up our meal. We've got those roast potatoes, those delicious looking and tasting carrots, as well as our meat and a Yorkshire pudding, and we're going to cover all of it in a delicious gravy that we made with that packet of brown gravy mix that you may have seen in my last grocery haul. As well, it's a whole bunch of the drippings from the slow cooker. This was definitely a favorite meal of the week. We always love this, and it's always a treat when we have it. It's not something I make all the time because it is a little bit time consuming, but it is so worth it and saves so much time if you do it in the slow cooker. And there I am making a big mess on my cutting board again. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you don't mind liking this video, sharing it if you want, subscribe, comment down below. Thank you and have a great day.